Notice of this meeting was advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Ms. Trueblood?
Present.
Mr. Allen?
Present.
Mr. Gardner?
Present.
Ms. Jackson? Present. Mr. Cartier?
Present. This meeting is called to order. Closed session resolution number 128, 2017 authorizes the council to go into closed session. Mayor, do you have anything?
Do not.
There will be no closed session this evening, council. Public comments. Anyone wishing to make comments before this council, please come forward. State your name, print your name, and make your comments. Mr. Tompkins, anything? Consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the Township Council will be enacted by one motion. Should a council member wish to discuss a consent agenda item separately, that item can be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the regular agenda. Council, any changes to the consent agenda?
I'd just like to pull resolution number 131-2017. I just have a quick question.
Right on this.
Go ahead.
Anyone else? Hearing none, is there a motion on the consent agenda as amended?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
I second the motion.
Poll the council, please.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson? Yes. Mr. Cartier?
Yes. Resolution 131, 2017 authorizes an agreement with Fantasy Island Properties, LLC for the 27 Warner Carnival fireworks display. Mr. Allen?
Yes. So we enter into this agreement annually, but the way the resolution reads, it sounds like each year we're fixing the wooden bridge because it says minor repairs. So I'm just curious, are these actually minor repairs or are these just temporary modifications so we could launch the fireworks?
It's basically going in and making sure all the boards are tight, the walk across it, make sure the handrails are tight, and we're not putting any real major construction at the project. It's basically just putting up the loose boards. Most of the work, I think, has been done in previous years.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to, if no one else has anything, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 131-2017.
Is there a second?
A second.
Poll the council, please.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson? Yes. Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Cartier?
Yes. Ordinances for second reading, public hearing, and/or final adoption. Ordinance number 15, 2017. An ordinance of the Township of Pemberton, County of Burlington, State of New Jersey, amending the Browns Mills Town Center redevelopment plan. This portion of the meeting is now open to the public. Anyone wishing to discuss this ordinance, please come forward, state your name, print your name, and make your comments. Seeing none, we close this portion of the meeting to the public. Council, any discussion on ordinance number 15? Is there a motion to adopt ordinance number 15, 2017?
I motion to adopt ordinance number 15, 2017.
Is there a second?
Second.
Poll the council, please.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson? Yes. Mr. Cartier?
Yes. Ordinance number 16, 2017, an ordinance of the Township of Pemberton amending Chapter 86 of the Township Code entitled Uniform Construction Codes in order to amend certain construction permit fees. This portion of the meeting is now open to the public for discussion for comments of ordinance number 16, 2017. Anyone wishing to make comments on this ordinance, please come forward. State your name, print your name, and make your comments. Seeing none, we close this portion of the meeting to the public. Council, any discussion on ordinance number 16? Is there a motion on ordinance number 16? To adopt.
Motion to adopt ordinance number 16-2017.
Is there a second?
A second.
Poll the council, please.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood,
Yes.
Mr. Cordier.
Yes. Ordinances for introduction. Ordinance number 17, 2017, an ordinance of the Township of Pemberton authorizing the purchase of easements upon property located at 255 and 257 Reeves Avenue for the price of $2,001. Council, is there any discussion on ordinance number 17? Mayor, you want to give some background on this? I'm sorry, Council.
Yes, this is as a result of being denied access through the Paper Street Linnet, which is a property that runs off of Trenton Road, parallel alongside of the Patel construction, that would take you back to the Danatom project, the housing development proposed off of Evergreen, Bobolink project. And Pinelands denied us because part of that is wetlands buffer. I am shocked because they just approved a paved roadway for the school district for 3 years on a wetlands buffer, which is a no-no, but hey, the state was approving the state, I guess, there. But they did not approve us, so we had to find alternative routes to bring water mains into that development. And the easiest route involved one property that we would have to go through. The rest was our property. And that's the owner of this property has agreed to give us an easement on one property and a construction easement on the other. So once we're done, we'll have access easement on the one property for any repairs and so forth.
Is that the permanent easement?
Yes,
The construction?
the
Okay.
permanent easement will be on the one property, and the temporary easement will be on the other for the construction of the pipeline. So we'll basically, instead of coming in off of Trenton Road along Pazel's, we've got to come in from Evergreen, or from Pemberton Boulevard down Reeves, and come in the backside, the other side, and through a property off of Reeves.
Any discussion, Council? Is there a motion on ordinance number 17, 2017 to introduce with public hearing to be held?
Andy, does this
21st?
require more advertisement than the normal? Okay, than the 21st.
No, this is not like a rezoning, so it doesn't have to go to the planning board.
Public hearing,
June 21st.
June 21st.
Motion to introduce ordinance number 17-2017 with a public hearing date set for June 21st.
Is there a second?
I second the motion for ordinance number 17, 2017 for the public hearing of June 21st.
Poll the council, please.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood,
Yes.
Mr. Gardner,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Cordier.
Yes. Are there any comments or questions on the engineer's report?
I have two quick questions.
Mr. Allen?
The safe routes to transit pedestrian path, when do we anticipate the construction to begin? Sometime this summer, or?
I'd love that to happen. We're still going through the Pinelands phase, meeting with ARH. Maybe tomorrow, I'll have to check schedule. It might be on tomorrow's schedule. And to go over this project and a couple other ones. But we're still trying to get, I'm meeting with ARH tomorrow. We're still trying to get Pinelands approval on this.
Okay. And the West End Park, what modifications were made to the design?
Well, they're still working on modifications, but one that I did see, I didn't see be useful to the program, and we'll be discussing that tomorrow also. It just didn't seem to fit the way it would have been laid out, and I think it would have also encroached on the original intent intent with the county grant to put the walk trails up by the building and the what I want to call passive, but Pinelands is calling aggressive recreation down the other end on the part we bought from the church. But Pinelands is kind of having us, or wanting us, to move the soccer fields up by the building itself.
Oh, wow.
That front field up by the building. And they're claiming hydric soils is the reason why we can't put it down the other end. So find out more tomorrow.
That's a big difference, right?
Oh, yeah,
That's a huge
big difference from what our original intent was. They're basically saying we can hardly use any of the field down the other end, and what we can use, it's so remote, without parking and the concession stand, all that was planned to be down with the fields in the main complex, which this whole issue makes absolutely no sense, because we could turn around and rent this field to a sod farmer. We could rent it to him for $1 and let him grow sod there. I just conditioned him not to cut the sod till the soccer season was over, and the kids were out there playing. They're playing, but then they're going to fertilize. They're going to cut. They're going to take dirt away every year and fertilize every year. But that's permittable, so it makes absolutely no sense. You're allowed to farm it, but you're not allowed to just mow it and let kids play on it.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. But so that's where we're at. I'll have some more options tomorrow if I can. I'll put a synopsis together as to some of the results from tomorrow's meeting, and have Amy send it out to council so you can get an update on it.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
That's still not good.
Moving on, approval by council required for payment of vouchers on bill list dated 6/2/2017. Is there a motion on the bill list?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the bill list. However, I will be abstaining from all and any bills pertaining to the police department, as my current employer is the New Jersey State Police.
Is there a second?
I second.
Poll the council, please.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Cartier?
Yes, with the exception of any bills related to the fire department.
Solicitor.
Solicitor. Thank you.
My turn. I have no report tonight, Council President.
Mayor.
Just so council's aware, we are currently seeking new employees in the area of code enforcement. For that office, we've got three different titles actually advertised right now. We're advertising a building inspector slash code enforcement officer. So we're hoping we get, and actually we're starting to get some applications with individuals that are certified to do building inspections. A building inspector is a state license, which is, I believe, the lowest license in the construction field. You have the construction officer, the UCC, and then you have the, I'll think of the other one, but then you have the building inspector. But it gives us some options to allow the building inspector to now help out in the construction official reviewing and look at mechanical subcode official. That's the second one. And then you can have the building inspector help construction official with plans. He just can't inspect sites. And then code enforcement. We're advertising for a code enforcement officer, because my goal is to put 2 code enforcement officers on and 2 trainees. Trainees have to work a year in the profession before they're qualified. Not certified, there's no certification, qualified to issue violations. So we'll hopefully have a complete staff in a year after hiring of 4 code enforcement officers here in the township, which is one of our biggest complaints. It's not the biggest, but it is one of the biggest areas we get complaints on, and we want to address this aggressively. So we feel by bringing in more code enforcement officers, we'll be able to address this. And if you're unaware, we had our two code enforcement officers retired within a week of each other, with very little notice. So we were kind of left stranded here, and we're putting it back together. So we'll get that. And also we are doing interviews for police officers. The applicants have been through the process with the department. They've also gone through the background investigations, and they're now at the point where they're meeting with the chief and I, and we've been interviewing them. We've interviewed, I want to say 8 maybe already, 8 to 9, and we're hoping to bring on at least 9, maybe 10, and maybe even 11, depending on how how it falls with the interviews and how the academies are, because we just found out that we can't get anyone into Gloucester's academy because they're filled already, and we're talking July, and now we're looking at August. I believe it's Camden. I don't know, one of the academies is filled, and one of them still has some vacancies. We're trying to get them into Camden, I believe. I'd prefer to split them up and have them staggered, so you have, maybe 5 going 1 month, and then a couple months later you have 5 more, but the academies aren't falling that way. So otherwise we'd have to wait till next year, after a 28-week period, or whatever the academies are now, to get the next group in. So we'll be doing a large hiring here, probably in the next 2 weeks, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks. We'll be bringing them on board and preparing them for the academy.
Very good.
Speaking of new employees, I saw the newly appointed rec director at the Memorial Day Parade, and I was just wondering how he's transitioning into his new position.
Seems to be doing quite well. When I actually called him today discussing an issue, and it seems like the things that we talk about, and just as an example, I mentioned to him that we've had a mulch pile at Mirror Lake Beach sitting. It's not really mulch, I guess it's ground up leaves, but it's been sitting there for some time, actually since last year. And I says, maybe you need to talk to the buildings and grounds supervisor and see if you can get that moved and get that project finished there. While the buildings and grounds supervisor was up here for some work here in the office, he's looking at and giving the directions to his employees, and he mentioned to me that he's already been contacted by the director. I said, oh yeah, I meant to tell you about that. But
good.
They are working on it, and he seems to be very responsive, and from what I'm gathering, from the employees, he seems to be very comfortable to work with so far, and he's receptive to the seniors and them to him at the senior center. So, so far I'm satisfied with what we're up against there, because it was suspected to be a challenge.
Yeah.
We had a director that has been employed here for 15 years. Worked for this administration, for the last 11 years, and got quite comfortable. So, bringing someone else on, it was concerning to some degree, but not that we didn't think we could get it done. I think we're getting it done. So let's keep our fingers crossed that it stays this way.
Cool.
Any other questions or comments for the mayor? We need to backtrack a minute. We forgot to add the one purchase over $2,000. It's under Recreation and Senior Services for Geese Chasers in the amount of $3,468 for 12 weeks. So basically runs for the entire summer season. I'm assuming they've already done this week?
Either that or the Eagles been pretty busy.
Okay.
I've heard the Eagles been cleaning up out there.
In the off-season, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're looking good so
Yeah, I just heard they broke up. No, never mind.
Is there a motion to add this purchase to the agenda?
I motion to add this purchase to the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Will the council please?
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
yes.
Mr. Cordier?
Yes. Is there a motion for approval of the purchase for Geese Chasers in the amount of $3,468?
Yes.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Yes. I second the motion.
Poll the council, please.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Cordier?
Yes. Council comments. Who wants to start? Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to say that this past Wednesday, Jason, you were there, TAG and Pinelands Family Success had an event at the BMI building, which I thought it was very informative. It was sponsored by a panel of discussion. There was a panel for discussion.